Gray and Mack Breakfast Show.
Olivia, what do I need to know about this school?
We do literacy.
What's literacy? Is that like reading?
Writing.
Arithmetic?
What's that?
That's the 3 R's. Reading.
What's
The 3 R's. Reading, writing and arithmetic.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey? Hang on a sec. Alfie, what's the problem here?
Writing is a W.
Writing?
Is a W. Yes, W.
But it's known as the 3 R's.
No, because writing is W.
Yeah, I know writing's W. I know how to spell. Yeah, but it's known as the 3 R's.
Yeah, but if writing doesn't begin with R, it can't begin with it in a different word.
No, but it's known as the 3 R's.
But it's an unknown word.
No, it's the word. It's not. It's a known word. The word is writing.
No,
It's one of the R's.
No one's ever...
It's the second R. Reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Why is it the second R when it starts with a W? Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't make this up. It's reading, writing, and arithmetic. Hey?
Fake.
You don't.
It's a fake word. It was made up.
It's a real word. The word is
It doesn't
writing.
make sense. It's wrong.
It makes sense. It's the 3 R's. It's. Of course, I went to school. They're saying that we need to get back to teaching kids the 3 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic.
Did you do numeracy at your school?
No, we did arithmetic.
Which isn't
One of the
even
3 R's.
Yeah, which isn't even a word.
It is.
Isn't
Arithmetic. Arithmetic. Hang on. What's that?
If you had writing, it would be your right hand, because writing, when you write with a pencil, begins with a W.
Yeah, except when it's in the 3 R's. Then it's reading, writing, arithmetic. No, that's how it works.
Writing, if it starts with an R, it's like you've got your right and your ink. It doesn't make sense.
I didn't. Don't blame them. Don't shoot the messenger here. I didn't come up with this. No, I never made it up. It's a well-known thing. The 3 R's.
Yeah, but if you don't know who made it up, then who made it up? It must be you.
I'm guessing Scooby-Doo. There's been an angry reaction to Swindon Town Football Club's plans to sign the former Plymouth Argyle goalkeeper Luke McCormick. He killed 2 young boys in a drink-driving crash in 2008. The first person on the scene was Derek Ballantyne. He's written to Swindon Town, condemning their decision. Well, I spoke to Derek early this morning. I started by asking him to tell me what happened on that day.
We were going on holiday down to Cornwall from Scotland.
This is you and your wife?
Yeah, me and Vanessa. Travelled through the night. When we got round about Stoke-on-Trent Way on that particular day, I was driving behind the Peaks and their Toyota down the motorway. I could see my mirror from way behind this car, Range Rover, driving erratically in and out, weaving in and out lanes and stuff. And the next minute was, he was actually going to run into the back of our car, but I moved over a little bit because I'd seen him. He was weaving into a lane, back out again, and when he passed me, his Range Rover just went suddenly sideways, ploughed straight into the Peaks car and knocked it straight off the motorway. Eventually came to a halt, Mr. McCormick's Range Rover. Me and the wife stopped. We were only witnesses at the time that stopped. Everybody else drove on. Mr. McCormick stayed in his vehicle. I just checked to see that if he was okay at the time, because it looked like more people were in the car, but it was just airbags going off. Anyway, went back up to the scene of the crash. Quite horrific.
I know this is difficult, Derek, but what did you see?
My wife already had 2 boys out of the car who were alive. She took the 2 boys down to our car out of the way, and there was 2 mangled kids in the car, which were the 2 boys. Phil Peake was obviously trapped in the car, couldn't get out, screaming for his boys. Couldn't do nothing for them, tried to get the boys out, couldn't. Just a mess. Eventually when all the ambulance crew and stuff arrived, it was later on then, must have been 2-3 hours later before McCormick even got charged, arrested. He was just sitting in his Range Rover all the time, just smoking cigarettes. I went down to the car, asked him what he thought he was doing. He sort of just, nothing sunk in at the time really, about the whole scene.
And did you have any idea then that he was drunk?
You could smell he was stinking, his breath from the first time he stopped. He was stinking of drink and like stale garlic and things like that. He wasn't right. He wasn't legless. You couldn't say he was legless, you know. And I mean, even to the time he got breathalyzed, I mean, you're talking 2-3 hours afterwards, and he was still like double over the limit. So, what my point is about seeing him and what went on was that it's not just a case of how he was, you know, just somebody who's accidentally had an accident and, you know, a couple of kids have died. He was drink driving, not oblivious to what was going on. He wouldn't have actually seen. He wasn't aware of what he'd done.
When I spoke to the Swindon Town chairman on this show yesterday, he suggested that lots of people make the mistake of having too much to drink and then getting behind the wheel, but luckily this kind of thing doesn't happen. Was Luke McCormick unlucky?
No, because at the outcome of this court case and everything, it turned out that his friends and football colleagues from the wedding venue he'd been drinking it through the night realised he'd disappeared and was heading home in his Range Rover. And it came out in court that they were actually they'd phoned his mobile phone and were pleading with him to pull over and stop because they knew what state he was in and where he was heading. He was only heading down south to check on his girlfriend. That was what it basically came down to, why he had decided to go home in the state he was. He'd had an argument with some of his girlfriend previously and he wanted home. But it turned out that he'd been phoned by colleagues to pull over at the Hard Shoulder or the next services and park up and don't go anywhere. But he didn't. He just chose to carry on and carry on. He had a chance, you know, like I said, he had a chance to stop by his friends and at the wedding venue, but he didn't. He just chose to carry on. And even for meeting him at that day on the crash, there was no remorse, nothing. He didn't know what had happened. Did
he say anything to you?
He asked me at first when I went back down to see him after the police everyone took over from the scene. He just said to me, he says, "Oh, hiya mate, how you doing?" And I just said, I'm not your mate, you know. I says, well, you know, you just took me by surprise. Then he says, how's your sons? I mean, there was nobody else there, you know. And I says, what the hell are you on about, you know? And I started to sort of lose my rag with him. Then I was trying to sort of pull and push him out of the Range Rover. I didn't know what to do. And then the police, my wife phoned the police from the side of the Hard Shoulder because she thought I was going to be doing something to him. And that's when they came down and decided to arrest him.
Derek Ballantyne, first on the scene and the only eyewitness to the crash that killed 2 boys. Luke McCormick was the driver of the car, goalkeeper with Plymouth Argyle at the time, and he's on trial for Swindon Town at the moment. He's been training while he's been on day release from prison. Now, Derek had a lot more to say. And he had a lot to say about what he thinks of Swindon Town's decision to have this goalkeeper on trial. And you can hear the second part of that interview that I had this morning with Derek Ballantyne at 8:05 this morning on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.
The Graham Mack Breakfast Show.
More illegal and counterfeit cigarettes and tobacco are being sold in Swindon. That's according to trading standards. Illegal cigarettes are ones that have been smuggled in without duty being paid. Counterfeits are fake ones. Paul Stockhall is Communications Manager at the Tobacco Manufacturers Association. Good morning, Paul.
Hello, good morning.
What have you got against people saving a few bob?
Basically, in terms of sort of illicit products, counterfeit products, they're unregulated, they're untaxed, and they're often made in very unhygienic conditions.
That sounds a bit rich coming from a bloke who represents an industry that sells a product that's been killing people for years.
We accept that there are health risks associated with smoking, but...
That's kind of an understatement, isn't it? According to the World Health Organisation, tobacco kills 5.4 million people a year.
The government loses up to £3.1 billion per annum in tax revenue, and it's been losing revenue such as that for the number of years, and it's in the interest of government to reduce that. And if they're intending to reduce smoking, then obviously they have to address the levels of illicit trade.
The illicit trade is there because tobacco is so expensive. It's so expensive because of all the tax and duty on it. Would you like to see the tax and duty reduced?
Yes, but I think we're sort of realistic about this. Economic conditions are such that the government needs to raise revenue.
They also need to discourage people from smoking, which is one of the reasons they give for having the tax and the duty so high.
When you have a pack of cigarettes in the UK costing about just over £7 and £3.20 in Spain, there is a massive price differential, and it's really the governments should be taking a more, should we say, a more sensible approach to tax rates to stop people buying product from overseas.
But wouldn't that encourage more people to smoke in the UK?
Not necessarily.
It doesn't seem right, though, that our tax money is being used to help an industry that really isn't making people any healthier and is actually killing people every year.
The tax money is being used to stop people smuggle tobacco. £3.1 billion is lost per annum.
But why do you care what the government loses? You represent the tobacco industry. You must be more bothered about the losses to your profits. 5.4 million people every year being killed by smoking. Someone is killed by smoking every 6.5 seconds. 37 people have died while we've been talking.
As I say, I understand. I know the health risks associated with smoking.
Do you smoke, Paul?
I used to.
Paul Stockwell from the Tobacco Manufacturers Association. Thanks for your time this morning. An angry reaction to Swindon Town Football Club's plans to sign the former Plymouth Argyle goalkeeper, Luke McCormick. He killed 2 young boys in a drink-driving crash in 2008. The first person on the scene was Derek Ballantyne. He's written to Swindon Town and criticised their decision to have the player on trial. I asked Derek if he would be happier for Luke to return to football if the sentence he'd been given was tougher.
If it had been tougher, he would have been too old to be in the game. It would have been better, you know. Part of his bargaining plea in court even was that to get his lenient sentence was that he already knew that he probably wouldn't be playing football again. Purely because, you know, I suppose because what he'd done he's killed two young kids in a drink driving accident. And how long? And it's like when you read about what he's done when he's in prison, he's been out day release. He's been training with Swindon since January, seemingly. Then he's worked in charity shops. I mean, as sentence goes, how much time has he actually spent in prison? And while he's been in prison, what has he done? He's been in cushy prisons. They've all looked after him. They've been in the best of the sports facilities, the prisons he's been in. So he got sentenced to 7 years and 4 months. No, he's not. No, you don't even do the 7 years and 4 months. That's three years or something he'll have done by the time he released. I think it's the 12th of June. And all they've done is we've paid for him and been in prison to come out fit as a fiddle and go straight back into football. And when you read comments like, you know, about Mr. Ray at the club and everything at Swindon, saying they're a family club, and he's on about that, that Mr. McCormick can now put something back into the community to show troubles of drink driving and things like this. He's put down, you know, well, He's not been punished for drink driving and killing 2 kids, is he, properly? He's back in football because Swindon, well, not Swindon, Mr. Jeremy Ray or whoever's took him on, has got herself a cheap footballer because at the end of the day, Luke McCormick seemingly was a good goalkeeper, an up-and-coming young lad. You know, he was going to be going places in proper, big clubs. And Swindon have managed to grab themselves a bargain because probably not many clubs would take him on. I mean, Plymouth Argyle finished with him, who he was employed with at the time of the crash, within 3-4 weeks of taking him, from the incident happening. They weren't even going to wait to see what the court case was going to be. Yet, it's just, everything's just all wrong. And from meeting him that day, Mr. McCormick, no remorse, nothing. Even when you've seen him going to court and everything, there's nothing at all searching the man's face or anything for remorse of what he'd done. It's just like, oh well, I've been in a drink driving accident. He's got nothing to relate to. He hasn't got scenes of carnage and children in bits in a crash carnage. He's got he's got statistics in his head of what he's done, and that's it. But at the time, I think it said the maximum he could have got was 14 years for what he'd done, killing the 2 lads. Okay, it's not his fault. It's not his fault, I suppose, of what the jail term is. But he, like I said, part of his plea bargain thing was that he wouldn't be in football again. So it suits at the time for trying to get a lenient sentence, and there you go, he's in the limelight. I mean, what it's doing to Amanda and Phil Peake, the parents of the boys, I do not know. It's bad enough for me reading and seeing things and knowing what's going on, and they're not my kids. Never met them before. I keep in touch with the family. I mean, when I say keep in touch with the Peakes, just feel sorry for them. And it's not just with sympathy, but it's horrendous. And it never leaves you. I mean, to me, my wife, as though it's just happened yesterday. You could go through every detail and everything in your head from yesterday, not from 3-4 years ago now. It's just like yesterday. But whereas, part of McCormick's punishment is he can't do that because he's not seen anything bad. And he should not be playing football. All right, he's served the cushy sentence and be out. If the man had any remorse about him himself, you'd be thinking twice about being seen in public limelight in the position he is. He'll have been told about what's going to happen and the bad publicity. He's obviously quite happy about that because he's got himself a job that he loves doing at the end of the day. Whereas everybody else around that day is damaged goods, everybody. And he's home and dry at the end of the day. And like I say, Swindon should stop and think about what they're doing at any football club. You just don't know what's their ideas are.
Derek Ballantyne, who was the witness at the scene, and earlier this morning he described what he saw when he ran to the Peake's car, and he saw the mangled bodies of the 2 boys that had died. And the most emotional part for me was hearing him talking about the father who was trapped in the car, screaming for his boys. Now, Swindon Town have defended their decision to give Luke McCormick a trial with the club. They say he deserves a second chance. What do you think? Joe Wheeler has been in touch on Twitter. He says, if Luke McCormick signs for Swindon Town, I'll still be a fan, but I won't attend any games until he leaves. James in North Swindon, good morning.
Good morning.
What are your views on this?
I can't believe what I'm hearing. I can only add to what the guy Derek has just been talking about. To me, the fact that he caused this accident by virtue of the fact that he was playing football, earned enough money to afford a large car, a Range Rover, I believe it was, and took the lives of 2 innocent boys. To me, it's just appalling, and he should never be allowed to play football again. I think, the reception he's going to get at Swindon, I'm sure there are many other people that feel as strongly about this as I do. I think the guy's an idiot. And, I think that Swindon Town should definitely not allow him to play.
Well, the judge did describe him that way. He said he was driving like an idiot. I spoke to Jeremy Ray, the chairman of the club, on this show yesterday, and Jeremy said the guy was young and daft, made a mistake and deserves a second chance.
No way. I think you take the lives through irresponsible behaviour of two young... look at the poor father in a wheelchair. I mean, to me, there isn't any justice in this, and I think that the comments that that guy made is just a lame excuse and a way of getting the guy to play for the town. So I'm sorry, but I just think it's appalling.
James in North Swindon, thanks for your call this morning. I'd love to know what you think. If you would like to have your say on this, 513366. The hosepipe ban is being lifted in Swindon tomorrow. Yes, it turns out Thames Water have got a window, and they've noticed it's been raining ever since the hosepipe ban came in. Simon Evans is Media Relations Manager at Thames Water. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, how you doing?
Has the hosepipe ban actually saved any water? Who would want to use a hosepipe in the rain anyway?
There has been a few hot spells. For example, in May, when we had a really sort of Saharan stretch of weather, we were actually...
Saharan is pushing it a bit, though, isn't it?
Well, it was sunny. Let's just leave it at that. But during that period, that hot spell, we were saving, thanks to people complying with the hosepipe ban, 100 million litres a day.
You wouldn't have to save so much water if a quarter of the water you dealt with wasn't leaking away, though.
We would...
That's a pretty disgraceful figure, isn't it?
It is an awful lot of water, but I would disagree that it's disgraceful. I would say that actually, if you look back to when leakage was at its peak...
It could fill Wembley Stadium every 36 hours.
No, we haven't solved the problem, but we've made a very good start tackling it.
You've also given £500,000 to your chief exec as a bonus, haven't you?
Look, I'm not here to talk about the individual remuneration packages of any individual. We are a FTSE 100 sized company. We need good people to run it, and we've got to pay accordingly. But if you look at an article in The Guardian yesterday, you'll find that there are a lot of other chief executives of big companies who get paid vastly more than our chief exec does. It's actually quite small by comparison.
But those companies didn't ban their customers from using the product that they're actually paying to get.
No, and that is an absolutely fair point. But, given the circumstances at the beginning of April, imposing a hosepipe ban after we'd had the 2 driest years ever, we didn't know how long it was going to stay dry, and actually that was the responsible and the right thing to do at the time. Since then, we've had a game-changing amount of rain, and so we're now in a position to lift the ban, and we're really glad that we can do that.
All right, well, we've been saving water. Now,
we certainly appreciate that.
Well, if people who are on a water meter, they're going to make considerable savings. What about the people who aren't on a water meter? Are you going to give them a refund?
No, I'm afraid we can't do that. But actually...
Oh, that's a shame. Why not?
The benefit for people who are not on meters is that you need to remember that about a third of all the electricity or energy bills that the average household spends goes on heating water up. So the less water we all use, the less money will be spent heating that water up, and the less our bills will be for energy. So
I don't know anyone that's heated water up before they've squirted it onto the lawn.
Well, certainly that doesn't apply to watering your garden, but we encourage people...
Well, that's where we've made the savings through the hosepipe ban.
All right, fine, but we have been encouraging our customers...
Who puts hot water on the garden?
Who puts hot water... Well, no, we've established that doesn't happen. OK,
you were saying that people who've saved the water through the hosepipe ban can't have a refund, but they will be saving money because they're not heating the water up.
We've encouraged people, as well as...
Simon Evans, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
A passion for Swindon life.
BBC Wiltshire.
The row over Swindon Town's decision to give a trial to Luke McCormick continues. Yesterday, we heard from a lot of fans against the move. The Professional Footballers Association has arranged for him to do some work in the community when he's released from jail. Gordon Taylor is the Chief Executive of the PFA. Good morning, Gordon.
Good morning.
Arranging for him to do work in the community, that's just a way of spinning this, isn't it?
Sorry, no, that isn't the main part of it. He's extremely remorseful. If he could put back the clock, he would. But he has, had his penalty, and we have a civilised society, I think, whereby once they've done that, they should be then rehabilitated back into society. He has a wife, he has a child, and this is his profession. He may not get a club, but if he does get a club, that's his best skill. Otherwise, he's got to get some job to look after his family.
What
he wanted to do as well was to really get involved in community work, but that
he doesn't have to play football to do that, though, does he?
No, but what we do have in football is a good social responsibility programme that if any player, this can even set up their own foundation for any particular group of disadvantaged children or...
But anyone can do that?
Yes, they can, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course they can, but footballers do it more than most, actually. Last year we had I think there was nearly 40,000 visits to such programmes by players.
You say he's done his penalty. Well, the maximum penalty for what he did is 14 years. He was given 7 years and 4 months, and he's only serving about 3 years of that in an open prison, let out on weekends to train with Swindon Town. He's been working in charity shops. Part of the deal, well, it wasn't a deal, but part of what was taken into account was he said he'd never play football again. That was at his trial, and then now he is going to play football again. Has he? It does look, doesn't it, like there's one law for footballers and a different law for everybody else?
No, I don't see why that should be the case, because that happens with all sorts of cases.
But but they can afford better lawyers, more expensive lawyers who are good at getting people off things like this, particularly driving offences.
No, that wasn't the case. It was a very serious offence, and the judges have all the parameters there, and it was terrible, tragic. I don't want to get into that because that was horrific. So you can judge or quantify the length of time he's been in prison. That's your personal judgment. We've just got to...
Well, you were making the judgment. You were saying that what he got, he's paid his penalty by doing his time, and now it's over, and now
well, that's the way the justice system works, yeah. It's not... You're making out it's special for him as opposed to other people. It wasn't special for him. It was that special for him, and he had such good lawyers who, because he could afford them, he would have got off the charge, wouldn't he? But he didn't, and he's paid a price, the same as anybody else would do in that situation. And that's tragic enough, but are you denying him the right to now, if he does come out, to try and earn a living in the world?
He doesn't have to be a footballer, though.
No, he doesn't. If he can't there's no guarantee he gets a job as a footballer. That's his best skill. Otherwise, he has to retrain and do whatever he can to get a job, and it's hard enough to get a job these days.
Do you know him, Gordon?
I don't know him personally. We're in touch with him. I know people who do know him, and we did go down. My deputy in Manchester, John Bramwell, went down to see him in prison. He wanted to get his life back together. He wanted to look after his family. He was full of remorse, and he wants to put something a lot more back into the community, and we'll give him that opportunity. I wouldn't want you saying that's just paying lip service to it, but you can do. The proof of the pudding will be in the eating.
You've been quite outspoken about different things in the game. You said that players found guilty of racial abuse should be sacked. Does the PFA see racist abuse as a worse crime than causing the death of 2 children?
Well, clearly, causing the death of 2 children was horrific, and he lost his job at the club. That's what happened. He's not back at Plymouth now. He left, gone. He doesn't get paid whilst he's in prison. That's it. It's finished. The same. It's not... Football isn't an oasis from law and order. All my players are under the same rules of the land. Now, what we're saying with regard to racist abuse is that it's put in a category of gross misconduct. So it is open to a club, and it's to really focus on it to try and make sure we don't have any more incidents like we've had this year, and to make managers, staff at clubs, senior players coming in from abroad, and even board of directors aware that, you know, we've got to eradicate this from football now that we have such a cosmopolitan game.
What about abuse that Luke is bound to get from the fans?
Well, again, you've got, you know, when you've been through what he's been through, that's something he's going to have to live with, and that's for him alone to live with. But I hope there will be also people out there who appreciate, you know, that he's been under the justice systems, and now if he gets his chance to be out, he's got a job to do for his family and his youngster. But that doesn't mean to say he's not contrite or full of remorse for what happened.
So are the PFA supporting him then in his bid to play for Swindon Town?
Well, we couldn't deny him the right, even if we wished to. We wouldn't want to deny him that right. The same as if you and me were in something like that had happened and you came back out and your skill was as a broadcaster. I hope your union would look to get you re-engaged as in the media.
I doubt very much whether if I was responsible for 2 children dying, that I would live in the same country again. Never mind go on the radio there.
Well, that would be your choice.
Gordon Taylor, Chief Executive of the PFA, thanks for your time this morning. It's chilly this morning. It's icy. There's snow on the way tonight. When the weather's like this, it always reminds me of the first example I had of people in authority not believing me. It was icy like this when I was a kid. I think I was about 10. And my old man slipped on the ice on the way home from the pub and broke his right arm. Now, it worked out quite good because it was just before the school holidays. So when the school holidays came up, my mum was working. So me and my sister, who was about 6 at the time, were off, and he was home with us. My sister wasn't well. She had measles. So so it all worked, you know, he was off work. Now, my dad used to send me up to the shops to buy his cigarettes. And when I was quite small, it wasn't a problem. They'd just give them to me. But as I got older, you know, kind of approaching the age where kids in our street started to smoke, it got harder. And the lady would, like, wrap the cigarettes in the tissue paper that they always used to have on the counter and give them to me. But first of all, I'd have to go like, they're for me, Dad. I'd ask for 20 senior service, and she'd look at me sideways. I'd go, they're for me, Dad. Then she'd wrap them in the tissue paper and give me the cigarettes. But after a while, she said, I went, they're for me, Dad. She says, well, he's going to have to bring a note. So from then on, we had to go through this drama of my old man and say, here's some money, go and get me some cigarettes. I say, you have to give me a note. And he'd write me a note saying they were for him. And then I'd go up to Thornley's newsagents and go through this, give her the note, then she'd wrap the things and whatever. And in the end, he got fed up with that, and often he'd just go up and get them himself, because he couldn't be bothered scribbling this note. Anyway, so there's this day, he's off work, he's looking after us, and he sends me up to the shop. And I went up to the shop, and I said, 20 senior service. She looked at me sideways. I went there for me, Dad. She said, really? Why couldn't your dad come? I said, because he's at home looking after my sister. She's got measles. She said, well, why didn't he write you a note? I said, because he fell on the ice and he's broken his arm. She said, get out. Swindon Town won't be offering a first-team contract to the goalkeeper Luke McCormick. He was released from prison earlier this summer. He served half of his 7-year sentence for killing 2 boys in a drink-driving accident. McCormick had been training with Swindon. He was offered the chance to continue with Swindon's youth team, as well as working on community projects. But he's chosen to pursue other footballing opportunities. Luke McCormick's agent is Clive Hart. Good morning, Clive.
Morning.
You're an agent, so you make your living by taking a cut of your client's wages. Did you advise him not to stay at Swindon because there's no money in it?
No, it's nothing like that at all. If you mean no money for Luke or no money for me?
Well, both, because you only make money if Luke makes money.
Firstly, thank God I've got other projects going on this summer and last summer and January which will cover my expenses. So, you know, the situation Luke is in, making money from Luke McCormick is not a top priority for myself at the moment. The reason he's not staying at Swindon is nothing really to do with my money, and to a degree it's nothing to do with his money either.
Has Luke not been offered a contract at Swindon because they don't need a goalkeeper, or because he killed 2 children?
That's a tough question. Luke has been in there to train. That's been going on since January, as you're probably aware. My understanding from the chairman and from the football people at the club is that he's done well in training. Obviously, he joined in some of the pre-season with the youth team and with some of the fringe players. He obviously didn't go with on the trip to Italy, but the club didn't feel that the time was right to be able to offer him a contract. They weren't able to put a time scale on it either. They made a very good offer to Luke in terms of being able to go in and train with their youth team and development squad, and also to get involved in some community work. But unfortunately, on a practical level, it just wasn't something we were able to do.
What was the reason the club gave then for not offering him a contract?
They just felt the time wasn't right, really, at the moment. I mean, by the way, you know, I've certainly not come on the radio to criticise Swindon Town. In fact, quite the opposite. I think Jeremy Ray has been magnificent where Luke is concerned. I know Jeremy's taken a lot of flack from a lot of people. But, you know, you've got to understand as well that one of the reasons that Jeremy was prepared to take that flack is that he's met Luke McCormick and was very impressed with him as an individual. I think as well, Graham, you know, obviously Luke's had a lot of criticism in the papers and no one has been able to stand up for him up until this point, which is why now, you know, for the first time I've agreed to speak, just simply because, you know, there is another side to things. You know, I can tell you the following, Graham. I looked after Luke McCormick from the age of 17. He was 24 when the tragic events of 2008 occurred. So I looked after him for 7 years during that period and got to know him very well, and can only tell you the following, that number one, he was a very decent lad who was never a minute's bother to myself. During 7 years at Plymouth Argyle, he never had any disciplinary issues whatsoever, inside or outside of the club. And if you were to go to speak to some of his high-profile managers, who Tony Pulis, Ian Holloway, Paul Sturrock, obviously the ex-Swindon manager, I think if you spoke to them off the record, I don't think you would find one of them with a bad thing to say about him. So you are basically talking about a pretty decent lad who obviously made one very, very tragic mistake with the worst possible consequences. And obviously he's been somewhat demonised in the press, mainly by people that have obviously never met him, of course.
Was Luke surprised by the national media's reaction to him training with Swindon?
Not really. Obviously, as I said to you, you know, I'm not a Johnny-come-lately here. I was involved with Luke at the time of the 2008 incident, and obviously it was front page of every newspaper when it happened, and, you know, Sky News and everything else. So, no, I expected there to be a backlash, or certainly attention given to Luke's training. So, no, I don't think it surprised us at all, really. Possibly, and it's not for me to say, possibly it took Swindon a little bit by surprise.
How has the experience of the incident in 2008 and the prison sentence, how has that changed, Luke?
I'm not sure. Well, you know, I've got to be very careful. You know, I don't really want to talk about the incident. I can only say to you that, you know, Luke, as I say, has always been a very decent young man. He's 28, well, in fact, he's just turned 29. I don't myself notice any huge changes in him. He was a fairly humble individual prior to the incident. He's a fairly humble individual now. He's always been grateful for any help and assistance he's had, and he remains that type of individual to me, really. I don't sort of see any big difference in him.
Does he still have a drink?
Does he still have a drink? Well, I think that's a slightly loaded question because I'm sure you saw a picture that was in the Sun a few weeks ago.
Well, maybe you could clear that up for us. I mean, obviously the tabloids are making out that he's, almost as if he's out on a bender. I mean, what were the circumstances behind that?
My understanding, obviously I wasn't there, my understanding of the circumstances were that he lives down in Devon and sort of took himself off, and it was, of an evening and went and had a drink. Now, I don't know where the photographer was who took the picture. I mean, obviously, if you've seen the picture, it looks like the photographer was stood right in front of him, but that just wasn't the case. At the end of the day, he's fulfilling the criteria of his license, really, and there's nothing in his license that says he can't have 1 pint of an evening. So, I'm not quite sure where you're going with that, but no, he's not teetotal.
What do you say to people who say serving less than 4 years in a category C or D prison for killing 2 children and then being allowed to pick up his life where he left off isn't justice?
I really don't want to talk about the case, but I will only say this, is that prisoners are obviously given whatever sentence they're given. That's not decided by them. It's not even as if he appealed the sentence and had it reduced. The sentence is what was given to him. He served his sentence. Talking as I did before about his behaviour and disciplinary situation, again, my understanding was he served his sentence in an exemplary fashion without any problems. So, in terms of being able to continue his life, well, quite clearly that's not the case, because I know from Luke not a day goes by when he doesn't think about the events of 2008 and, the kids involved. As I say, I don't want to go into that. And in terms of being able to carry on his life, quite clearly it's not as easy as you're suggesting, because for those people who haven't seen Luke McCormick play, I can tell you without sounding like a biased agent that Luke was one of the very best goalkeepers in the Championship in the 2007 season. And here we are, and at the moment he hasn't even got any offers from League One or League Two, and that's not going to be for footballing reasons necessarily. So you can't just say that he's come out of prison and just picked up on, his life as was, because that's not the case. The reason he's not signing for Swindon has nothing to do with the fact that there's other offers. We're very hugely appreciative of everything Swindon have done for him, but the suggestion of coming in and training 2 or 3 times a week with the youth team on a practical level just doesn't work for Luke. So it's not that he's turned that down because there's other offers. We will have to see who's prepared to do what, really. I mean, I would only say this, and again, I don't want to go into details. The other footballers who have been to prison, some of them involving incidents where there were fatalities, have been given second chances by the world of football, and Luke, I suppose, hopes that he'll get the same opportunity.
So what are you hoping for, Clive?
I'm hoping that someone, and yes, it will take, a brave chairman, a brave manager, that someone will give Luke an opportunity to get back into football. I mean, you've got to remember this, Luke is actually not a Plymouth boy. Luke is from Coventry. I believe he moved down to Plymouth at the age of 15, 16, joined their youth setup. Football is the only job that Luke's ever had. And, that's the career he wants to go back into. So that's what he wants to do, Graham. It's as simple as that.
Clive Hart, agent of the goalkeeper Luke McCormick. Good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for your time, Clive.
No problem.
It's the Graham Mack Breakfast Show, the home of School of the Week. Every week I adopt a school and get to know the teachers and the kids. This week, it's Peatmore Community Primary School in West Swindon. Emma, what is the Eurovision Song Contest?
Is there a prize?
I don't think there is.
That's a bit boring.
Well, yeah.
Is it like a sing-off for the 2012 trophy for the best singer of the pop
It's
group?
more about the song. But, yeah, there are guest singers. And Did anyone know that Jedward is in it?
Oh my God! I'm not watching that. I don't like Jedwards.
Jedward are representing the Republic of Ireland.
See?
Why? Are they from Ireland?
Because they're Irish.
They have...
Does anybody know who is representing the United Kingdom in the Eurovision Song Contest? Who do you think it is?
The Queen.
No, the Queen is not singing in the Eurovision Song Contest.
JLS?
Not JLS?
David Cameron.
It's not David Cameron.
Why would he sing?
I'll give you a clue. His first name is Engelbert. It is, that's...
Is that a real name?
Yes, his real name.
I thought it was a name.
I think it was a second name.
I'll give you his full name. Would anybody believe me if I told you that the man representing the UK in the Eurovision Song Contest is Engelbert Humperdinck? That's his name. I'm not lying. That's his name. I swear to you, I am not lying. That's his name. I'm not. It really is. That's who it is.
And that's your sport.
Thank you very much, Jono. Well, Oxford, eh?
Oh, no.
Of all the teams, after 10 games unbeaten, of all the teams, Oxford.
We did have this horrible thought in the back of our heads last week, though, didn't we?
Let's think positive now.
Absolutely.
Swindon Town are going to Wembley.
Yeah, exactly.
We should be thinking about that. We should be concentrating on that. We should be focusing on that. You know how when we had the great chant shortage and we got the Kentwood Choir to lift the team? And it worked. Turned them around. When Paolo first started, it was iffy.
Yeah.
We turned them around.
Absolutely.
We can do it again. Yeah. I've got an idea. You know how at the county ground when Swindon win, they play Status Quo, rocking all over the world?
Oh, right, yeah.
We need to record a special version of Rockin' All Over the World for Wembley.
Really?
The thing is, we need lyrics.
Ah, right.
We can't sing the Status Quo, Rockin' All Over the World.
No.
We need some creativity here.
Right. So
and that will focus our mind on Wembley instead of on the defeat to Oxford.
Where are we going to get this creativity from, then?
513366, I think. 513366. Now, you know how it goes. It goes, here we are, here we are, here we go. Now, you got to help me out with this. There's trouble brewing at my house over clothes for Julie to wear. Yeah, as usual, she has 2 full wardrobes of nothing to wear. This time, it's for a wedding. My cousin is getting married for the 3rd time in I think it's about 5 weeks' time up in Blackpool. So Julie went to look for something to wear because she has nothing to wear. She looked for frocks and stuff, and then suddenly she discovered in the wardrobe this little black cocktail dress. And she likes it. Well, she wasn't sure about wearing that to a wedding. So she put it, I forget what she put on Facebook or Twitter, but one of the social media things. And anyway, people were outraged. You can't wear black to a wedding. Is that right? You can't wear black to a wedding? It's not like it's his first wedding, it's his 3rd wedding. My cousin Adrian really likes wedding cake. And it's not in a church. It's in a hotel. A nice hotel, but a hotel. And we're not exactly, I don't know, close. It's me cousin. It's not like he's me brother. I mean, he's me cousin. But I want to know now, you know, because otherwise she's going to have to buy a frock. And that's fraught with danger. I don't know why women do that. You know, blokes, we go into a wedding or a job interview, we play it safe. We go with the suit that we know always looks good, the one that fits us, the shoes that look good with the suit. That's it. Now, women... They have to throw a complete gamble. They'll try something they've never worn before. Shoes they've never worn before that nearly crippled them. So this, you know, sounds like the safe option to me, going with the black cocktail dress. I'm not putting any pressure on her. If she wants to buy a new frock, that's fine. I just want to know, is there a rule that says you can't wear black to a wedding? I mean, it's not like it's a evening dress or something. It's a nice frock cocktail dress. Could we be ostracised by the entire family? And this is my mother's side, the Hugheses. They're all mad. I'll give you an example of how this family is. My mother rang me up and she says, you've been sent an invite to your cousin's wedding, I'm going to pass it on to you. I said to my mother, who's going? She says, I'm not sure. I'm scared to ring anyone in case they haven't been invited. So this is what we're dealing with. So if it turns out Julie gets it wrong on this frock, talk about jungle telling, I can't believe she wore a blinking black frock to a wedding. Thanks to Derek from Covingham, who has suggested that our version of Rockin' All Over the World, the status quo song that they play at the county ground when Swindon Town win, our special version that we should record for the trip to Wembley should be entitled Robins All Over the World. I like it, Derek. We have a title.
It's 8:05.
Thanks a lot, Deb. You know, I rang my mother to ask about this wedding that we've been invited to. You know, this one.
Yes.
The thing that's bothering me, Mother said this to me. This shouldn't bother me. My mother said, she said, your Uncle Norman's going to be the MC on the day. Well, I'm thinking, hang on a minute. You know, if only... I could understand that if the family didn't have a broadcaster in the family who regularly hosts events all over Swindon for the Rotary Club, and everybody who asks me if I'm not busy, I'll host an event or an auction. So it's like my Uncle Norman, he's a retired hairdresser. I mean, he's going to be rubbish. I'm going to sit there and Julie's going to be quiet. I'm like, oh, what's he doing? She's going to be quiet, be quiet. The whole thing is I'm going to be critiquing my Uncle Norman, who I know is going to be rubbish going in.
Yeah.
Is that wrong of me? Is that wrong?
Yes.
This one has come from Stefan Myton.
Okay.
There's some fantastic lyrics in here. We're going to be spoilt for choice. Robins all over the world. We like to play, we win away, we win at home. Paolo's here, he prefers it to Rome. Here we go. Robins all over the world. Been another busy weekend for the Graham Mack rock band. Actually, we've played for some really nice crowds lately. Last week, we played Chiseldon School, and that was quite funny, because Gavin's missus, Caroline, she was getting a bit... she was helping out with the fete and everything, and she's getting a little bit bossy. And I read Steve Jobs' book, and he has a great quote, and that is, focus is about saying no. And he's dead right. And we were in between songs, and we're about to do Hoochie Coochie Man, which is one I count in. And she came up and wanted to say something, you know, when you're in a band and someone comes up to you in the middle of your set, you ignore them. Focus is about saying no. And I don't know what she wanted me to do. Probably announce that the raffle was being drawn or something. But she came up to me, and like seconds before she got to me, I went, 1, 2, 3, and I looked round at Gavin, because I've just blanked his wife. And he's like red-faced, and, you know, but he's having to play. She's looking at him, and like, yeah, he knows this is awkward. But secretly, I think he knew I was right. Peter from Swindon, he's come up with some belting lyrics here. Jonathan Fido, listen to these.
Oh, go on.
Here we are, and here we are, and here we go. Swindon Town and Decani, oh, here we go. Robins all over the world.
That is the best one yet.
I tell you what, I'm dreading my cousin's wedding on Saturday. Let me just bring you up to speed. It's my cousin's third wedding, so it's not that big a deal. But anyway, he's getting married where he lives in Lytham St Anne's, up near Blackpool. Now, all my family are on Merseyside. So my plan was, it's my mum's birthday on Saturday. I'll drive up to the Wirral, where they live, near Ellesmere Port. I'll pick them up, my mum and dad, and I'll take them to this wedding. We'll have a nice time at the wedding, and they're not going to want to be there for the night-time bit, so kind of after the meal and everything's done, I'll bring them back to the Wirral, and then I'll drive back to Swindon. So it's a long round trip, it's a lot of driving. That was my plan. Well, it turns out my dad doesn't want to go.
I don't want to go to it. I've been to enough of his blinking weddings. He's already had to.
So anyway, he doesn't want to go. But of course he's saying he's too sick to go. And a lot of people are buying that. But the truth is, he doesn't want to go. My mother doesn't reckon he's well enough to stay home on his own. So my mother's going to wait at home with him. So she's not even going to leave the house on that day. While I'm still going to the wedding, Julie and I really want to go. Meantime, my sister has emailed me and says, well, seeing as you're going up anyway, she lives in Warrington. She says, can you give me a lift? So now I'm taking her up there. So it's not this big family day that I was planning. It's basically me as a taxi for my sister. That's all it's turned into. So my Auntie Hazel's been on to me. She reckons, I'm sure you could convince him to go, you know. He'll probably go if you can. He won't listen to me. He doesn't listen to anybody. I'm the last person he'd listen to. Anyway, I get this email from me Auntie Hazel. She says, hello, Graham. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday and having a good chat. I hope you'll make the wedding, as your dad's not been too bad this week. He might be well enough to go to Lytham St Anne's. Your mum might think that he'll be up to it. It will give her a nice birthday. So she's thinking he's... Because I spoke to my mother on the phone last night. The old man was out mowing the lawn the other day. He doesn't want to go. So my plan is now I'm going to go up there, I'm going to visit them, and then I'm going to pick up my sister in Warrington, I'm just a taxi, and then drive up to the wedding and then drive home. So I'm still going to visit them, still going to visit my mother on her birthday. But of course the thing is, I'm going to be at this wedding. Someone is going to have a few too many and want to take me on. I know it. I know this family. Someone's, so you've driven hundreds of miles from blinking Swindon, have you, for free food and drink, but you won't be with your mother on her birthday? OK, Annika, let's have a go at it. What's it sound like?
Right, well, come on, everybody, follow Swindon Town. We're going on a trip and we're Wembley bound. Here we go.
Robins all over the world.
Yeah.
I like it. In fact, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it. Hey, we're onto something here, aren't we?
Yeah.
The Church of England is selling its £1.9 million shareholding in Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. The Right Reverend Dr. Lee Rayfield is the Bishop of Swindon. He sits on the church's Ethical Investment Advisory Group. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Graham.
So why is the church selling its bit of News Corp?
It's basically because we have been very worried about the governance practices with News Corp over the last 18 months, 2 years. And in the light of the scandals that are emerging,
You're talking phone hacking?
With them. Well, phone hacking's part of it.
Well, since last July, News Corp share price has gone from $15 to $24. So the church is a business, and this makes good business sense to sell now.
That's not why we're doing it at all. You know, I mean, that you can always spin anything, Graham. We're doing it because we engage with companies. If there are things we're concerned about, we don't just sell our shares straight away. We bring those concerns to companies. For example, in the last year, we've engaged with 40 companies, and most of them have been face-to-face meetings, including BP 5 times, AstraZeneca.
See, some people would say, like a company like BP, a fine company, but they're selling fossil fuels.
How did you get to work this morning?
I'm not making an ethical judgment, the church is. That's all I'm saying here.
Very interesting thing, yeah. If we say, okay, yes, let's pull out of supporting fossil fuels. What we need to do is move away from fossil fuels to other sustainable...
Let's talk about the News Corp situation. Why did the church invest in News Corp in the first place?
Because it seemed a reasonable investment and was doing things reasonably responsibly. There was nothing about News Corp. The things that have emerged from News Corporation are the sort of things we've heard about in the last 2 years, which have made them completely a risk and a company where we're basically saying you've got governance structures which are far too dominated by family concerns and don't follow good business practice. You haven't dealt with...
But previous to this, you were happy with the way News Corp was run?
Yeah, well, of course, what happens is that as you look at the way, when things emerge, you look closely. You can't always predict what's going to happen, and you respond to what appears.
Well, what used to appear, what still appears and has appeared for a long time in the Sun newspaper owned by News Corp, are boobs on page 3. So the church was happy with that, but when the phone hacking, that was too much.
The church has a very clear policy about what it will support in terms of investing in things which are deemed as pornography or not. And so, that particular, there are some things which do not take an organisation, a company, into what we would say we can't really invest anymore with that.
So the church was happy with page 3?
Look, that's the kind of answer. Of course, we don't want people to be titillated, but at the same time, we actually don't say, well, as soon as you do one thing that we do not agree with, we take our investments away.
Because it's all about business, isn't it?
Listen a minute, Graham. Listen. This is quite serious stuff, because what we do is whenever there is a concern we have over anything which we think is not going to be healthy, not going to be good for society, we have to have something which helps us to engage.
The church preaches against corporate excesses and massive bonuses.
Yeah.
About 10% of the Church of England's capital is invested with hedge fund managers. In fact, the C of E is one of the largest UK investors in an industry notorious for large bonus payouts. Why does investing in hedge funds have the church's blessing, but investing in News Corp now doesn't?
Let me pick up the thing about executive remuneration. Last year, we wrote to 200 companies about their executive remuneration policies.
Did you pull out your investment from any of those, like you've done with News Corp?
You don't seem to understand that these are processes of engagement. We actually get down and we discuss our concerns. You can't just take away your investments just because of one or two things. You have to. Well,
that's what you're doing with News Corp.
No, it's not. This is a.
You said it's because of the phone hacking and the way they're run.
You're wrong there, because this is a long history of trying to engage with a company and saying this is something we would like to see changed, and then realizing actually at the moment there's no likelihood of the kind of governance structures that we need to see to believe that there are going to be changes in this corporation.
Okay, well, hedge fund partners earned £3 billion during the economic crisis. The church has no plans to remove its £5.5 billion portfolio from there?
What we do is we engage with different organisations individually, and so as ones which have practices which we are not satisfied are best corporate governance, are doing things in areas which we cannot support, we'll engage with them. And then, if the evidence is such that it's the sort of thing that we would not want to support and they're not moving, we will disinvest from them.
Bishop Lee Rayfield, sadly we're out of time.
Okay, Graham, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time this morning.
That's your sport.
Thanks for that, Chris. Let's quickly look ahead to Wembley now, because whenever the Robins win the county ground, they play Rockin' All Over the World by Status Quo. So we need to come up with our own version of it in time for Wembley.
Okay.
Hi to Sue from Purton, who says, loving your show every morning, can't wait to hear the completed song. Well, I want to get the lyrics done today. I want to get them recorded tonight.
Right.
Sue says she's looking forward to seeing the Graham Mack Rock Band perform at the Village Hall in Purton on Saturday night. Well, I'll see you then,
So are the Graham Mack Rock Band going to have
the song ready to go?
I hope so.
Right, okay.
I hope so. Right
this
now
is
we've
going to
got
be a quick turnaround.
Right now we've got no lyrics, and I've never even attempted to play it.
But so the band don't already play Rockin' All Over?
No, we don't.
Right, okay.
No, we don't. But Gavin has put together a backing track, which I can play you now, and I'm going to try and put Sue's lyrics to it to see what you think.
Oh, Sue's done some lyrics,
Yeah,
has
yeah,
she?
so here we go.
Fantastic, okay.
Well, here we are, and here we are, and here we go. We're off to Wembley with the Canio. Here we go. Robins all over the world.
That's very cute.
It's got potential, hasn't it?
I think so.
I like the opener because she's combined the bit that Pete from Swindon did that. We're going to call the song Robins All Over the World.
Yeah.
I want to get the full lyrics to the full song this morning, done by 9 o'clock. Give me a call with yours on 513366.
The Graham Mack Breakfast Show
on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.
The cost of insuring your car's going up. It's because there's been so many claims for whiplash. That's what it says in a new report from a group of MPs. Malcolm Tarling is from the Association of British Insurers. Good morning, Malcolm.
Good morning.
Well, it turns out insurers have been selling their customers' personal details to ambulance-chasing lawyers for up to £1,000 a time. That's caused a rise in claims, so the insurance companies put the premiums up. Now they're 40% higher than a year ago. Car insurance. It's a racket, isn't it?
There's nothing wrong in this. It is perfectly legal. Not all insurance companies do it. It's an insidious practice that needs to be banned across the board.
You're telling me selling people's personal details without their permission isn't a breach of the Data Protection Act?
It's not a question of selling people's details without permission. Insurers, of course, will always fully comply with data protection. There is no...
But they have been doing it. They have been selling people's details.
Well, some insurance companies do receive an income in this way. Why do they do it? They do it because it's one way at the moment of keeping their income up at a time when they are facing an unprecedented rise in claims, personal injury claims.
Yeah, but one is feeding the other. The claims are going up because people are getting messages and phone calls saying, why don't you claim for an accident you had 3 years ago? And people don't even know how they got hold of their number. That's why the claims are going up.
Yes, and I think that's become increasingly apparent in recent years, which is why, and let me reiterate this, we want to see this practice banned across the board.
But if insurance companies didn't want it done, they could stop doing it.
Well, if you just let me explain, I might be able to help here. Firstly, yes, insurance companies could stop on their own, but if they stopped on their own, plenty of other people would continue to do it. Claims management firms...
Well, where would they get people's personal insurance details from if it wasn't from the insurance companies giving them out for money?
If insurance companies stop doing it, those insurance companies that sell on details stop doing it overnight, other people will continue.
But when the insurance companies have been doing it, this is the kettle calling the pot black here.
Well, there are plenty of other people who are involved in this practice. Have some insurance companies been involved in the selling on of personal details as quite legally and as part of the system? Yes, they have.
Right, but they don't want anyone else to be doing it.
Well, hold on a second. That's not what I said. Do they want to stop this practice? Yes. And that is why we have said that referral fees must now be banned across the board. The government agree with us, and they are going to press ahead with their reforms to the compensation culture that we're currently suffering, and they will, as part of that, ban referral fees. So let's be quite clear about that, because they do two things. Firstly, they encourage people to make fraudulent and exaggerated claims, quite clearly wrong, and they push up the costs of insurance for every honest motorist out there.
Well, they don't push up the cost. The cost is put up by the insurance company, because that's what the thing is with insurance. If you end up having to pay out, which you hate doing, you just put the premiums up so you can't lose. Like I said, a racket.
Well, hold on a second. Let's make the point. Believe it or not, and I'm sure you're not going to believe this, insurance companies pay out more in claims and expenses than they get in premiums.
They'll get it back, though.
We're here to pay genuine claims.
Malcolm Tarling, a spokesman from the Association of British Insurers. Thanks for your time this morning. Hi to Steve in Chiseldon, who sent these lyrics. We're gonna tell Oxford what we're gonna do. We're going up and you'll be stuck in League 2. Here we go. Robins all over the world. I like it, Steve, but we're talking about the Johnston Spain Trophy. going to combine a couple here over the backing track that Gavin's made me. This first one is from Kevin Joins Creed. That's the first verse. The second verse you hear is from an anonymous caller that we've had to the show. Here's Kevin's. I'll tell you, baby, what we're gonna do. Gonna beat Chesterfield and we'll beat them by 2. Here we go. Robins all over the world. That was Kevin Joins Creed. Here's anonymous man. We'll wave our scarves in red and white. Shout, come on, Reds, with all of our might. Here we go. We're watching all over the world. Now, this anonymous one, although that line needs to be Robins all over the world, it's given me an idea. Because up until now, we've been kind of just throwing stuff at this song and seeing what sticks. And we've had some good lyrics. Yeah. We've had some good lyrics. However, we need a bit of something to focus our minds on. Now, in this anonymous caller's thing, he says, watching all over the world. Now, the title of the song is Robins All Over the World. But that's where the inspiration... Let's make the song about all the Swindon fans, the Robins fans, who are all over the world. So here's my idea. We get the lyrics to talk about all the different places that people could be Swindon fans around the world.
And there are some out there as well.
There are a lot.
To BBC Wiltshire at the weekend.
There are a lot. Now, if we made the song about that, Robins all over the world, just how big a deal this is, here's my other idea, and this is where maybe, I like to throw ideas of the production team on this show. This is the one that they'll hate me for. But how about this?
Is that because they've got an hour and 10 minutes to sort this out?
Well, look, I want them to get this... No, if I can get the lyrics sorted out by 9 o'clock, this other bit, which I think is going to make it, is if we call people who are Swindon fans all over the world and record a quick message from them and then layer that over the song. At the end of it. So we do like, say, 3 verses and a chorus, or 2 verses and a chorus of the song, and then the rest of it we just play instrumental, and then we just play all these... Hi, this is Brian in Sydney, Australia. Come on, Swindon. Hi, this is Janet in Singapore. Come on, you Reds. Just everybody would there. That's just fantastic. Quick messages like that, all back to back to back to back. Wouldn't it be great?
It would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Well, there are Robins all over the world. You see what I'm doing here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The production team are going to love you, by the way.
I know they are.
What I'd do is, as soon as you get off at 9 o'clock today, I'd get producer Richard, sit him down and say, look, you've got a very busy weekend in store, I'm afraid. Cancel all your plans. You're working Saturday and Sunday relentlessly to get everything together.
But to help him out and to help us out, if you've got a relative who is a Swindon fan, will not be able to go to Wembley, or won't even be in Swindon on the day.
But even if they are going to Wembley, if they're from Australia and
they're coming over,
for example, get them involved.
So if you know someone who is a Robins fan all over the world, send me a BBC mail, which is graham.mack @bbc.co.uk with their phone number. We'll call them up and we'll pay for the phone call. There you go. Right now I've annoyed I've annoyed the accountants. Right, anyway, so...
you could make Richard use his mobile.
Exactly. Right, so send me, or you can phone me, and all we need is their phone number, and we'll ring them up, and it'll just be a quick message. Their name, where they are, or they could text 81333, start your message with Swindon, 81333. I just need their name and where they are and their phone number, and also let them know what we're doing, because they don't want to get a phone call out of the blue going, you're from where? Yeah, right, okay, thanks. If we could get as many Swindon fans from around the world on this song, all back to back to back. Now, so we've got that to work on, but this morning the goal is to write the lyrics that fit that. There are Robins all over the world.
And then we can just stick the voices in across the song.
The lyrics need to be about there being Robins all over the world. So, if you can help me out, you know how to get in touch, and that number as well. If you don't, 513366. That's Swindon, 513366. Thanks, Chris.
Tonight the team will be at the Jovial Monk pub. You can meet them there from 8 o'clock.
We're in the grip of Wembley fever. Is Sean going to see Paolo today?
What's the day? Thursday. Yes.
He will see him?
He is. Well, apparently, yeah.
Can you do me a favour? I'm putting this song together, the Robins All Over the World song. I'm trying to get Swindon fans from all over the world to record a little message to put in the song. They're all doing like, hi, this is Dave from Sydney. Come on, Swindon. That's the kind of thing I've got. I want one from Paolo. Hi, this is Paolo Di Canio from wherever he's from in Italy. No, he must have a town he's from.
Yeah.
Or city. And then, come on, Swindon. You reckon he'll get it?
You can ask. You can but ask.
I mean, yesterday you said to me that Paolo wasn't talking about Wembley yet.
He is and he isn't. I mean, I know that we've got two important league games to come before that, and I know they are organising a big media day next week for all the press, because again, with it being Paolo Di Canio, Swindon Town, all the national press are really getting to grips with this one now. But we can but ask. The problem is, every time you ask him a question, the answer's about 4 minutes long.
Yeah, well, the song's only about 3.5.
That might make the extended 12-inch mix possibly for later on. You never know.
Backing Swindon Town all the way in the Johnston's Paint Trophy Final. Just 4 hours to go till Swindon Town take on Chesterfield at Wembley. BBC Wiltshire.
Good morning, this is Graham Mack, live from Wembley Way, and it feels special. The sun is shining. Wembley Way has had thousands of people walk down it this morning. Most of them, though, the staff for Wembley Stadium. There's a huge arch above us in the blue sky, the arch 134 metres high, the span of 317 metres, supporting the largest single-span roof structure in the world. Inside the stadium, 90,000 seats. Today, pretty much 30,000 of them will be filled with Swindon Town fans. And then, via the internet and the satellite, people taking notice of this game. The Johnston's Paint Trophy Final 2012. There are robins all over the world.
Everybody's watching the referee, who blows the full-time whistle, and Swindon have secured their place at Wembley.
All around the world we support our team, from Swindon to Sydney, everywhere in between, here we go. Robins all over the world, from Tokyo, Japan to San Francisco Bay, the Rock of Gibraltar and Wembley Way, here we go. Robins all over the world, and I like it, 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 la 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 like it, we go.
Hi, I'm Keith Lewis from Singapore. Come on, Swindon.
Hi, this is Alana from Sydney, Australia. Go Swindon! Woo!
Hi, this is Paul from Munich in Germany. Wishing all the guys best of luck for the DPT final. Come on, boys, we can do it.
Hi, I'm Beryl Carter from Wichita, Kansas. Go Swindon!
Hi, I'm Pete Davis from Singapore. Come on, Swindon. Hi, this is Wally from Brisbane in Australia. Come on, the Thames. Let's have it this time. Let's go for it. Let's win.
They're cheering on the Robins in Afghanistan, the Falkland Islands and close to Iran. Here we go. Robins all over the world, and I like it, 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 la 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 like, here we go. Robins all over the world.
I'm Paolo Di Canio from Rome, Italy. Good luck, Swindon.